The Monday morning air in Los Angeles buzzed with its usual hum of life, cars honking, people rushing, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the avenues. But something entirely unusual was unfolding at a bus stop on Wilshire Boulevard. A man, dressed in a simple hoodie, jeans, and sneakers, stepped quietly onto the crowded city bus. No entourage. No electric car. No fanfare. He tapped his Metro card like any regular commuter and scanned the bus, finding a seat next to a tired nurse clutching a bouquet of wilted flowers. This unassuming passenger was none other than Elon Musk, the tech billionaire known for reshaping industries and setting his sights on Mars. But today, he was riding the number 12 like everyone else. Elon's motives for this venture were shrouded in mystery. Was it research for the Boring Company? Inspiration for Tesla? A social experiment? No one on the bus seemed to recognize him, except for a lanky teenager at the back, his hoodie pulled low as he whispered furiously into his phone. "Dude, I swear. Elon Musk is on this bus. He's right here, sitting with regular people. This is nuts." The ride was slow, the bus lurching with each stop. Elon observed the passengers around him, a mother juggling two toddlers, an older man clutching a weathered guitar, a young woman scrolling through job postings on her cracked phone. Their lives felt light years away from the sanitized conference rooms and billionaire board meetings he was used to. When the bus pulled into a downtown terminal, something unexpected happened. A man in a tattered suit stepped aboard, his eyes scanning the rows. He was clutching a stack of crumpled flyers that read, "Lost Dreams, can anyone help me?" The man locked eyes with Elon. "You look like someone who's got the power to change things," he said, his voice a mix of desperation and challenge. Elon hesitated, his instinct to retreat at odds with a strange curiosity. "Maybe I do," Elon replied, surprising himself. "Tell me your story." As the bus continued its route, the man began to speak, a tale of a failed tech startup, a family lost to financial ruin, and a system that seemed designed to crush rather than uplift. Elon listened intently, his mind racing. Before the man disembarked, he handed Elon one of his flyers. "You want to change the world, Mr. Billionaire? Start here." Then, just like that, he was gone. Elon sat there, the crumpled flyer in his hand, and felt something stir, a flicker of an idea, faint but insistent. It wasn't just about creating technology anymore. It was about connecting the people who used it. He didn't know it yet, but the week ahead would change everything. Elon stepped off the bus at his destination, the flyer still clenched in his hand. The words, "Lost Dreams, can anyone help me," stared back at him like a taunt. He tucked it into his pocket, trying to shake the weight of the encounter. Walking through downtown LA, he noticed things he'd rarely paid attention to before. A line of people snaking around the block, waiting for food at a shelter. A group of teenagers huddled together, sharing a single phone. A street artist sketching portraits for loose change. Elon's usual schedule would have whisked him away to boardrooms and think tanks, but today, he kept his itinerary open. Something about the bus ride, the faces, the stories, pulled him back. What if, instead of building the future for the elite few, he built it for everyone? His thoughts were interrupted by a call from his assistant. "Elon, where are you? You've missed 2 meetings, and the SpaceX team is asking about your input on the Mars simulation lab." "Reschedule everything," Elon said, surprising even himself. "I'm doing research." He spent the afternoon hopping on and off buses, speaking to passengers and collecting their stories. There was Maria, a single mom working 2 jobs to pay for her son's asthma medication. Javier, a former engineer turned janitor after his company outsourced his role. Liz, an aspiring artist who used her commute to sketch strangers, dreaming of a day when she could afford her own studio. By evening, Elon found himself at a modest diner on the edge of Koreatown, nursing a cup of coffee and scribbling notes on napkins. Ideas were forming, wild, ambitious ones, as usual. But these ideas felt different. They weren't just about rockets or tunnels. They were about people. His contemplation was interrupted by a young barista, who cautiously approached his table. "I'm sorry, but, are you Elon Musk?" Elon looked up, unsure whether to confirm or deny. The barista smiled nervously. "I thought so. I follow you on Twitter. It's just, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in, like, a Tesla factory or something?" Elon chuckled. "You'd think so. But today, I'm trying to figure out what people really need." The barista hesitated, then pulled out her phone. "Well, if you're serious, you should check this out." She showed him a trending post about an LA neighborhood facing eviction due to skyrocketing rents. "My cousin lives there. She's terrified of losing her home. Maybe someone like you could help." Elon's eyes narrowed as he scanned the article. He felt a familiar spark, the one that always came before a big idea. "Maybe someone like me could," he murmured. But the night was about to take an unexpected turn. As he left the diner, the man from the morning bus appeared, as if out of nowhere. This time, he wasn't holding flyers. He was holding something much more intriguing, a small, dusty device. "You're still thinking about it, aren't you?" the man asked, a knowing smile on his face. "I knew you wouldn't just walk away." "What is that?" Elon asked, eyeing the device. "It's a key," the man said cryptically. "To understanding how to help people like me." Before Elon could respond, the man handed him the device and vanished into the crowd. Elon stared at it, feeling the weight of something bigger than himself. The device was small, unassuming, a gray cube no larger than a Rubik's cube, with faint etchings on its surface. Elon examined it under the streetlight, turning it over in his hands. It didn't have buttons or a screen, just a single glowing line running along one edge. Back in his private workspace, surrounded by Tesla prototypes and Starship models, Elon placed the device on a desk. He couldn't shake the feeling that this thing held the potential for something profound. He pressed gently on the glowing line, and the cube came to life. A soft hum filled the air as holographic symbols appeared, swirling like a galaxy in miniature. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming an intricate web of connections. Elon leaned closer, realizing what he was seeing: data. It was people's stories, their struggles, their aspirations, all mapped out in glowing, shifting nodes. The cube pulsed, projecting a voice, soft, mechanical, yet somehow empathetic. "Welcome. This is the community link. Are you ready to learn?" Elon's eyebrows shot up. He wasn't easily impressed by tech, but this was extraordinary. "Learn what?" he asked, half expecting no reply. The voice responded, "The needs of those you wish to help. The barriers they face. The solutions that could empower them. Input coordinates to begin." Elon hesitated, then typed the name of the neighborhood the barista had mentioned earlier. The holographic display zoomed in, showing clusters of glowing points, people. Each point flickered with data: an elderly woman struggling to pay medical bills, a family of 4 at risk of losing their home, a high school graduate unable to afford college. The voice continued, "This device compiles real-time community data from public records, interviews, and environmental scans. It identifies patterns of inequality and potential leverage points for systemic change." Elon's mind raced. "Who made this?" he asked. The device paused as if calculating. "A collective. People who believed in progress but remained unseen. They entrusted it to those who could act." The memory of the man on the bus resurfaced. Was he part of this collective? Why had he chosen Elon? Before Elon could ponder further, the cube shifted its projection to display a startling trend. "Warning," it said. "Eviction rates in this area will displace 85% of residents within 6 months without intervention." Elon's breath caught. This wasn't just information. It was a call to action. The next morning, Elon was back on the bus, the cube safely tucked in his backpack. He planned to revisit the neighborhood the barista had mentioned. As the bus rattled along, the cube began to glow faintly, syncing with the environment. A notification popped up on its holographic display, potential ally detected. Elon looked around the bus. A young man with dreadlocks and a canvas bag full of protest flyers was sitting across from him. His shirt read, "Homes for All." The cube's voice whispered, "Meet him." Elon stared at the young man across the aisle. His shirt was crumpled, his bag of protest flyers spilling onto the floor as the bus jostled. The cube pulsed in Elon's backpack, its soft glow almost impatient, urging him to act. Taking a breath, Elon slid over to the seat next to the man. "Looks like you've got something important there," he said, gesturing to the scattered flyers. The man looked up, startled. "Yeah," he muttered, hurriedly gathering the papers. His eyes darted to Elon, then back to the floor. "Are you? No, you couldn't be, never mind." Elon smirked slightly. "I get that a lot. What's the cause?" The man hesitated, then held up one of the flyers. It read, "Stop the evictions. Rally tonight at Boyle Heights Park." Beneath it was a photo of a family standing in front of a boarded-up house. "We're trying to fight this massive real estate deal," the man explained, his voice tinged with frustration. "Developers are kicking families out of their homes to make way for luxury condos. The city says they're revitalizing, but all they're doing is erasing our neighborhoods." Elon nodded, intrigued. "And you think you can stop them?" The man's gaze sharpened. "We have to. If we don't, who will?" Elon felt the weight of those words. "What's your name?" "Marcus," the man replied, shaking Elon's hand. "And you?" "Elon." Marcus froze, his hand mid-shake. "Elon, as in Elon Musk?" "You're kidding, right?" "Nope." Elon grinned. "But keep it quiet, okay?" Marcus blinked, then leaned back in his seat. "Alright, so what's a billionaire doing on the number 12? Slumming it for kicks?" "Research," Elon said simply. "I want to understand what's happening in neighborhoods like yours. Why people are being pushed out. What solutions could actually work." Marcus studied him for a long moment, skepticism evident. "You think you can fix this with money? It's not that simple. This fight is about power, not just dollars." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "Fair point. What if I told you I had a way to map the problem, to see the connections, the patterns, the people involved?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I'd say you're either a genius or crazy." Elon smirked. "Maybe both." That evening, Elon found himself in Boyle Heights Park, standing amidst a growing crowd of protesters. Marcus was at the forefront, rallying people with his passionate words. "They think they can erase us," he shouted. "But we're still here, and we're not leaving without a fight." The crowd cheered, their energy palpable. Elon stayed back, observing. He noticed a man in a suit lurking at the edge of the park, his phone held at an odd angle. Something about him felt off. The cube pulsed in Elon's bag. "Potential threat detected," it murmured. Elon's instincts sharpened. He approached Marcus, who was handing out signs to latecomers. "You've got eyes on you," Elon said quietly. Marcus frowned. "Yeah, that's Frank Wilkins. Works for the development company. Likes to intimidate us." Elon's gaze hardened. "Let's see if he can handle some intimidation of his own." Before Marcus could protest, Elon walked directly toward Wilkins. The man's eyes widened slightly as he recognized Musk. "Mr. Musk," Wilkins said, his tone cautious. "What brings you here?" "Same thing as you, I imagine," Elon replied coolly. "Except I'm not here to spy." Wilkins chuckled nervously. "I'm just doing my job." Elon leaned in, lowering his voice. And I'm doing mine. Tell your bosses they've got a problem, a billionaire with nothing to lose. Wilkins' expression faltered, and he quickly excused himself, retreating into the shadows. Back at Marcus's makeshift headquarters, a small office filled with mismatched furniture and protest materials, Elon placed the cube on the table. Marcus and his team stared at it skeptically. "What is that?" Marcus asked. "A tool," Elon replied. "It can show us who's behind these evictions. The developers, the city officials, the money trails." He activated the cube, and the holographic map appeared, stunning everyone in the room. It displayed the connections between the development company, local politicians, and offshore accounts funneling money into the project. Marcus's jaw dropped. This is the whole system." "Exactly," Elon said. "Now we know where to apply pressure." The holographic map cast an ethereal glow in the dim office, its intricate connections captivating everyone present. Elon zoomed in on a particularly suspicious node, a developer with ties to offshore accounts. "This guy," Elon pointed, "is pulling the strings. If we expose him, the whole operation could unravel." Marcus leaned closer, his expression a mix of awe and determination. "Exposing him is one thing. Stopping him? That's the real challenge. These people don't play fair." The door to the office creaked open, interrupting their strategy session. A woman in her late 40s walked in, her presence commanding. Her hair was pulled back into a practical bun, and she wore a no-nonsense blazer. Marcus straightened immediately. "Mrs. Calderon," Marcus said, his tone filled with respect. "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Calderon's eyes swept the room, landing on Elon. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I heard about the rally. I also heard someone stirred up Frank Wilkins." She crossed her arms. "I assume that was you." Elon smiled faintly. "You assume correctly." Marcus jumped in, his voice hurried. "Mrs. Calderon, this is Elon Musk. He's helping us." Her sharp gaze softened slightly. "Helping you, or making things worse?" "I'm trying to do both," Elon said, his tone playful but earnest. "Disrupt the system while building something better." Mrs. Calderon snorted. "Bold words. Let's hope you've got more than words, Mr. Musk." Marcus explained her role. Mrs. Calderon was a retired city planner turned activist, someone who knew the bureaucratic labyrinth better than anyone. She had spent years fighting gentrification, and her insight had been invaluable to the movement. Elon nodded. "Then you'll understand what this is." He gestured to the cube, which obligingly pulsed and projected the holographic map again. Mrs. Calderon's skepticism melted into intrigue. "What am I looking at?" "Connections," Elon said. "This map shows how the development company is operating, who they're paying off, how they're funding the evictions." Mrs. Calderon's eyes narrowed as she studied the map. "This data, it's dangerous in the wrong hands." "Where did you get it?" "A friend," Elon said vaguely. He wasn't entirely sure himself. She shot him a wary look but let it slide. "All right. If this is real, it could blow the lid off their entire operation. But we'll need more than evidence. We need leverage." Elon leaned back, considering her words. "What kind of leverage?" Mrs. Calderon smiled for the first time. It wasn't a kind smile, it was the smile of someone who had fought many battles and won. The kind that forces their hand. A public outcry. A legal challenge. Maybe even a strike. As they debated their next steps, Elon's phone buzzed. It was a message from his assistant, urgent, SpaceX contracts in jeopardy. Investors want answers. Elon frowned. His commitments were pulling him in opposite directions. He stood, tucking the cube into his bag. "I need to step out, but I'll be back." Marcus gave him a sharp look. "You're not abandoning us, are you?" Of course not, Elon replied. I'm just making sure I still have the resources to help. Outside, as Elon walked to his car, the man from the bus appeared again, seemingly out of nowhere. You're in deep now, the man said, his voice calm but pointed. I don't have time for riddles, Elon replied. Who are you? The man smiled. Someone who knows what you're up against. Let's just say, I'm rooting for you. Before Elon could press for more, the man slipped a folded piece of paper into his hand and vanished into the night. Elon unfolded it to find an address and a time, Warehouse District, midnight. Elon stared at the folded paper in his hand, the words Warehouse District, midnight etched like a challenge. The mysterious man from the bus clearly knew more than he let on, and Elon's curiosity outweighed his caution. This was no ordinary resistance, there was something larger at play, and he intended to find out what it was. He spent the next few hours at SpaceX, addressing urgent matters with investors while his mind remained tethered to the mystery. When the clock struck 11:30 p.m., he excused himself, leaving behind questions and raised eyebrows. The warehouse district was quiet, the kind of quiet that carried an edge of danger. The air was heavy with the smell of rust and oil, and the streets were bathed in an eerie glow from flickering streetlights. Elon parked his car and approached the address on foot. It led him to an old brick building, its facade weathered but sturdy. A faint light shone through a crack in the door. He hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the large space illuminated by a ring of mismatched lamps and strings of hanging lights. In the center of the room stood a circle of people, each wearing a different expression of determination. The man from the bus was there, leaning casually against a support beam. He waved Elon over. Glad you made it. Wasn't exactly a straightforward invitation, Elon said. What is this? The man straightened, his demeanor shifting to one of authority. This is the Catalyst Collective. We're not just fighting the developers. We're fighting the system that allows them to exist. Elon scanned the group. There were engineers, lawyers, tech specialists, and community organizers. Each of them had an air of quiet defiance. What does that mean? Elon asked. A woman with close-cropped hair stepped forward. It means we don't just want to stop evictions or block one project. We want to build something better. But to do that, we need tools, like the one you're carrying. Elon tensed. How do you know about the cube? The man smirked. You think we handed it to you on a whim? We've been watching you, Elon. You have the resources, the influence, and, most importantly, the ability to see things differently. Elon's mind reeled. So, this was a setup? Not exactly, the woman replied. It was a test. You've passed so far. Over the next hour, the collective explained their mission. They used advanced technology to uncover systemic injustices, leveraging the data to empower communities. The cube, known as the Community Link, was one of their creations, a tool designed to shine a light on corruption. But why give it to me? Elon asked. Because you can do what we can't, the man said. You can put this data in front of the world. You can amplify our cause and bring resources we'd never dream of. Elon nodded slowly. The pieces were starting to fall into place. What do you need from me? A tall man in glasses spoke up. We need you to join us. Use your platform to expose what's happening, fund initiatives, and protect the people fighting on the ground. Elon leaned back, considering their words. He felt the weight of their trust, their belief in him. All right, he said finally. I'm in. But I do things my way. The group exchanged glances, then nodded. The woman stepped forward, holding out a hand. Welcome to the Catalyst Collective. As Elon shook her hand, the cube in his bag pulsed brightly, as if sensing the moment. This wasn't just a new chapter, it was the beginning of a movement. Elon sat at the center of the Catalyst Collective's makeshift command room, surrounded by laptops, holographic displays, and piles of hastily compiled dossiers. The group wasted no time pulling him into their world. Their first objective: strike a decisive blow against the developers evicting families in Boyle Heights. The Cube, now fully integrated into the collective system, mapped out a web of connections between politicians, corporations, and shadowy offshore entities. One particular name stood out: Elara Global Developments. It was a front for laundering money and pushing illegal projects through City Hall. "We've been gathering intel on Elara for years," the man from the bus, who introduced himself as Jonas, explained. "They're careful, but this is the closest we've come to exposing them." Elon studied the map. "What's the plan?" The woman with close-cropped hair, Lena, stepped in. "They're hosting a private gala tomorrow night. The city's top officials will be there, celebrating a new green housing initiative. Of course, it's a cover to finalize their plans to gut Boyle Heights." Marcus leaned forward, his fists clenched. "They're calling it green housing, but it's just another excuse to build luxury condos no one here can afford." Elon smirked. "So, we crashed their party?" "Not exactly," Lena replied. "We need someone on the inside to plant evidence, a trail leading directly back to their illegal activities." Jonas raised an eyebrow at Elon. "And who better to infiltrate a billionaire's gala than another billionaire?" The next evening, Elon arrived at the gala, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit. The venue was opulent, filled with chandeliers, champagne flutes, and guests who reeked of privilege. He blended in effortlessly, though his presence drew whispers and curious glances. As Elon moved through the crowd, he activated an earpiece connected to the collective. "I'm in," he whispered. "Good," Lena's voice crackled back. "The target is in the VIP section. You'll find a terminal there to upload the files." Elon reached the VIP section with ease, nodding and exchanging pleasantries with familiar faces from the corporate world. He spotted the terminal tucked in a corner, just as Lena had described. "All right, I see it," Elon said. He pulled a slim drive from his pocket and inserted it into the terminal. The collective had packed it with incriminating data, offshore accounts, bribery records, and fraudulent permits. As the files uploaded, a man's voice broke through the hum of the party. "Mr. Musk. What a surprise." Elon turned, forcing a smile. The speaker was none other than Frank Wilkins, the development company's enforcer. "What brings you here?" Wilkins asked, his tone dripping with suspicion. Elon kept his composure. "Supporting innovation," he replied smoothly. "I hear this project is groundbreaking." Wilkins' eyes narrowed, but before he could press further, the terminal beeped. The upload was complete. Elon discreetly removed the drive and slipped it back into his pocket. Back at the collective's base, the team erupted into cheers as the files began broadcasting across multiple platforms. News outlets picked up the story within minutes, exposing Elara Global Development's corruption. But the celebration was short-lived. Jonas, seated at his laptop, suddenly froze. "Wait a second, something's wrong." "What is it?" Lena asked, moving to his side. Jonas pointed to a stream of data on his screen. "The files, they've been traced back to us. Someone in this room leaked our location." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Elon. "You think it's me?" Elon asked, incredulous. Lena crossed her arms. "You're the only newcomer here." Before the argument could escalate, a loud bang echoed outside the building. A floodlight blazed through the windows, followed by the crackle of a megaphone. "This is the police. The building is surrounded. Come out with your hands up." Panic erupted as the collective scrambled to pack their equipment. Elon remained calm, his mind racing for a solution. "Don't worry," he said. "I've got an idea." The collective's base buzzed with panic as the police megaphone barked orders outside. Flashing red and blue lights spilled through the cracks in the building, casting a chaotic glow across the room. Lena grabbed Elon's arm. "If you've got an idea, now's the time." Elon scanned the room, his eyes landing on a half-built drone prototype resting on a workbench. "That drone, does it fly?" Marcus glanced at it. "Not well. We've been using it for surveillance, but it's glitchy as hell." "It doesn't need to be perfect," Elon said, already moving toward the workbench. "We just need a diversion." As the collective worked frantically to gather their equipment, Elon tinkered with the drone, his hands moving with practiced precision. He attached a smoke grenade from Lena's stash to its undercarriage and adjusted the controls on a nearby tablet. Jonas peeked out the window. "They're closing in. We've got maybe 2 minutes." Elon powered up the drone, its engines whining to life. "All right, everyone. When I launch this, head for the back exit. Stick to the shadows and scatter. I'll lead them away." Lena stared at him. "You're serious? They'll catch you." "Not if I do this right," Elon replied. He hit a button, and the drone zipped toward the front of the building. The smoke grenade detonated midair, creating a thick, choking cloud that enveloped the police line. "Go!" Elon shouted. The collective slipped out the back, moving quickly and silently. Meanwhile, Elon grabbed the cube from his bag and bolted for the side alley, where his Tesla awaited. The streets were a blur as Elon sped through the city, the cube resting on the passenger seat. A pair of unmarked police cars tailed him, their sirens wailing. "Let's see what you've got," Elon muttered, switching the Tesla into autopilot mode. The car's sleek AI system took over, navigating tight turns and weaving through traffic with precision. As the chase intensified, Elon opened the cube. Its holographic interface lit up, projecting a map of nearby streets. "Help me out here," he said, half joking. The cube responded, its voice calm and direct. "Activating counter-surveillance measures." Suddenly, the Tesla's screens displayed an alternate route, leading Elon through a series of industrial backroads. He followed the instructions, and within minutes, the pursuing cars peeled off, losing him in the maze of warehouses. Elon parked in an abandoned lot, catching his breath. The cube pulsed softly, as if proud of its performance. "All right, you've earned your keep," Elon said. He pulled out his phone to check on the collective. A message from Lena popped up, "We're safe." Regrouping at the second location. Elon sighed in relief, but his reprieve was short-lived. His phone buzzed again, this time, a call from Jonas. "We've got a problem," Jonas said, his voice tight. "The files, they were sabotaged. Someone altered them before the upload." Elon's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "They weren't just traced back to us," Jonas continued. "They were doctored to incriminate us. The cops think we're running a hacking operation." Elon frowned. "And you still think I'm the traitor?" Jonas hesitated. "No. We found the leak." Elon leaned forward, gripping the steering wheel. "Who?" Jonas's voice turned cold. "It's Marcus." The revelation hit Elon like a punch. Marcus, the fiery activist who had drawn him into this fight, was a betrayer. "Are you sure?" Elon asked. "We checked the logs," Jonas replied. "He planted the tracer and made a deal with the developers. They promised him money and protection." Elon clenched his jaw. "Where is he now?" "Gone," Jonas said bitterly. "He bolted as soon as the police showed up. But we'll find him." Elon ended the call, his mind racing. Marcus's betrayal had nearly cost them everything, but it also raised more questions. Why had he turned? And what else was he hiding? As the sun rose over the city, Elon knew one thing for certain: the fight was far from over. The sun cast long shadows over the city as Elon returned to the collective's backup base, a converted loft in an unassuming industrial building. The atmosphere inside was tense. Jonas paced back and forth, his face set in a grim expression, while Lena reviewed surveillance footage on a laptop. "Any sign of him?" Elon asked, stepping inside. Lena shook her head. "Nothing yet. He's gone underground." Jonas slammed his hand on the table. "Marcus knew everything, our plans, our safe houses, even the cube. If he gives that intel to the developers, we're done." Elon sat down, the cube in his hands. Its steady pulsing felt like a heartbeat, a reminder of the urgency. "We need to figure out his endgame," Elon said. "He didn't betray us for nothing." Jonas gestured toward a map of the city pinned to the wall. "He's working with Alara. That much is clear. The question is, what are they planning now?" The cube's holographic display lit up, projecting a map of its own. A blinking dot appeared, marked potential lead. It was in the heart of the financial district. "Looks like the cube has an idea," Elon said. Jonas squinted at the map. "That's Alara's headquarters." Lena frowned. "They wouldn't keep Marcus there. Too obvious." "Maybe," Elon said, studying the display. "But they might have something we can use to find him." The collective devised a plan. Elon would infiltrate Alara's headquarters under the guise of a business meeting. His reputation as a tech mogul would provide the perfect cover. Meanwhile, Lena and Jonas would provide remote support, monitoring security systems and guiding him through the building. Dressed in his sharpest suit, Elon strode into the gleaming skyscraper that housed Alara Global Developments. The lobby was a monument to excess, with marble floors and a massive chandelier hanging above a concierge desk. Mr. Musk, the receptionist, greeted him, her smile practiced but polite. "We weren't expecting you." Elon returned the smile. "I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd see what all the fuss was about." He was ushered into a private elevator and taken to the executive floor. As he stepped out, his earpiece crackled with Lena's voice. "You're in. The server room is 2 floors below. We've disabled the cameras for 5 minutes. Move quickly." Elon excused himself from the waiting area, claiming he needed to take a call. Navigating the hallways with Lena's guidance, he found the server room, a cold, sterile space humming with machinery. "All right, plug the cube in," Lena instructed. Elon connected the cube to a terminal. Its lights flickered as it began to siphon data. "How long?" he whispered. 3 minutes, Jonas replied. The minutes felt like hours. Elon's heart raced as he listened for footsteps in the hallway. Finally, the cube emitted a soft chime. "Data transfer complete." Elon removed the cube and slipped out just as a pair of security guards rounded the corner. He kept his composure, walking back to the elevator as if nothing had happened. Back at the loft, the team reviewed the data. Jonas's eyes widened as he scrolled through files. "It's worse than we thought. Alara wasn't just targeting Boyle Heights. Their plans stretched across the city, with schemes to displace thousands of residents. Even more shocking, the files revealed a list of collaborators, politicians, corporations, and law enforcement officials. At the top of the list was Marcus's name. "He didn't just betray us," Lena said, her voice cold. "He's working as their inside man." Jonas leaned closer. "Look at this. He's heading a meeting tomorrow night at their secondary site. If we can intercept him." Elon nodded. "Then we stop this before it gets any worse." The next evening, the collective assembled near an abandoned factory on the city's outskirts, the location of Marcus's meeting. As the team prepared, Elon felt a mix of determination and apprehension. Confronting Marcus wasn't just about betrayal, it was about justice for the communities Alara sought to destroy. Inside the factory, Marcus stood surrounded by Alara executives, his demeanor smug. "This city is ours," he declared. "No one can stop us." A voice echoed from the shadows. "I wouldn't be so sure about that." The room turned as Elon stepped into the light, flanked by Lena and Jonas. Marcus's smirk faltered. "You." Marcus sneered. "You don't belong here." "No," Elon replied. "But you don't belong in Boyle Heights." The air in the factory was electric, tension crackling like a live wire. Elon stood tall, his calm presence masking the storm brewing inside him. Lena and Jonas flanked him, their faces set with grim determination. Across the room, Marcus's smirk twisted into a sneer as Alara's executives exchanged uneasy glances. "What's the plan, Elon?" Marcus jeered. "Gonna tweet your way out of this?" Elon's gaze hardened. "The plan is to stop you. You betrayed your community for what, a paycheck?" Marcus scoffed. "You think you understand this fight? You show up in your fancy car, throw some money around, and think you're a savior. Newsflash, Musk, you're part of the problem." Elon's voice remained steady. "No, Marcus. People like you, who sell out their own, are the problem." The tension broke as Lena stepped forward. "Where's the leverage, Marcus? What's the deal you made with these parasites?" Before Marcus could respond, an Alara executive raised his hand, signaling the security guards to move in. "We've heard enough," the executive said, his voice cold. "Take them out." The guards advanced, but Elon was ready. "Now," he shouted. Jonas activated a remote switch, triggering smoke canisters placed earlier by the collective. Thick clouds filled the factory, disorienting the guards. Lena led the charge, weaving through the chaos to disable the nearest threat. Elon grabbed the cube from his bag, its glow cutting through the smoke. "Guide me," he whispered. The cube responded instantly, projecting a holographic map of the factory and highlighting an escape route. "This way." Elon called, leading Lena and Jonas toward a side exit. Marcus, coughing through the smoke, managed to break free from the confusion. He grabbed a briefcase from a nearby table and bolted toward a hidden door. Elon spotted him and pursued, the cube still in hand. "Jonas, Lena, secure the room," Elon ordered as he gave chase. The hidden door led to a winding staircase that opened onto the factory's rooftop. The night air was cool, and the city lights twinkled in the distance. Marcus stood at the edge, the briefcase clutched tightly in one hand. "Don't come any closer," Marcus shouted, his voice shaky but defiant. Elon stopped a few feet away, his eyes locked on Marcus. "It doesn't have to end like this." Marcus laughed bitterly. "You think you can just erase everything? They'll replace me with someone else. This system is bigger than any of us." Elon stepped closer, his voice softening. "Maybe. But we can dismantle it, piece by piece. You still have a choice." Marcus hesitated, his grip on the briefcase loosening. For a moment, it seemed like he might surrender. But then, the door behind Elon burst open. An Alara enforcer appeared, aiming a pistol squarely at Elon. "This ends now." In the split second that followed, Marcus made his choice. He lunged at the enforcer, knocking the gun aside. The two struggled, and the briefcase flew from Marcus's hand, landing at Elon's feet. "Run!" Marcus shouted, his voice strained. Elon grabbed the briefcase and bolted, the sound of the struggle echoing behind him. He didn't stop until he reached the base of the factory, where Lena and Jonas were waiting with a getaway car. "Where's Marcus?" Lena asked. Elon shook his head, his face grim. "He stayed behind." Back at the loft, the collective opened the briefcase. Inside were files detailing Alara's operations, along with evidence implicating key city officials. It was everything they needed to bring the company down. Jonas looked at Elon. "You think Marcus knew what he was doing?" Elon stared at the cube, its glow steady and reassuring. "He made his choice. Now we make ours." The collective gathered in their secure hideout, the briefcase's contents spread across the table like a treasure map leading to the heart of Alara's corruption. Detailed schematics, incriminating memos, and a ledger outlining bribes to city officials painted a damning picture. "This is it," Lena said, her voice tinged with awe and determination. "This is the smoking gun." Jonas scanned the documents. Names, accounts, transactions, this ties them to every illegal eviction in Boyle Heights and beyond. Elon studied the cube, which pulsed as if in agreement. "If we play this right, it won't just stop Alara. It'll dismantle the entire network they've built." The team devised a two-pronged attack. Lena would take the financial records to a trusted journalist who had been investigating corporate corruption for years. Meanwhile, Jonas and Elon would use the schematics to disable Alara's command center, a digital hub that controlled their operations across the city. "This hub," Jonas explained, pointing to a map, "is where they manage everything: tenant tracking, eviction notices, even their bribe payments. If we take it offline, we cripple their ability to act." Elon nodded. "And while they're reeling from that, the media will bury them." The collective dispersed to prepare. As Elon loaded gear into a duffel bag, Lena approached him. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine," Elon replied, though his thoughts lingered on Marcus. Despite the betrayal, his final act had been one of redemption. "Marcus made his choice," Lena said, as if reading his mind. "Now we have to make ours count." That night, Elon and Jonas arrived at Alara's command center, a sleek, unmarked building in the financial district. Armed with the cube and a custom-built jammer, they slipped inside through a service entrance. The cube's holographic display guided them through the labyrinthine hallways, avoiding cameras and guards. "You're close," Lena's voice crackled in their earpieces. Finally, they reached the control room. Rows of servers hummed with activity, their screens displaying live data streams from across the city. Elon connected the cube to the main terminal. Its light intensified as it began to upload a virus designed to shut down Alara's systems. "How long?" Jonas asked. 2 minutes, Elon replied, his eyes fixed on the screen. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Jonas readied a taser. "We've got company." The door burst open, and 2 guards stormed in. Jonas engaged them, using his training to subdue one while dodging the other. Elon kept his focus on the upload, the seconds ticking down like a bomb. "Done!" Elon shouted, yanking the cube free. The servers went dark, their screens flickering before shutting off completely. "Let's move!" Jonas yelled, dragging Elon toward the exit. By the time they returned to the hideout, Lena had already secured an exclusive feature with the journalist. The story, complete with the documents from the briefcase, was scheduled to go live the next morning. The collective watched as news outlets began picking up the story. Headlines screamed of corruption, exploitation, and illegal evictions. Public outrage grew, with protests erupting across the city. Alara's executives scrambled to issue denials, but the evidence was overwhelming. Arrests followed as officials and corporate leaders were implicated in the scandal. Yet even as the collective celebrated, Elon couldn't shake a lingering unease. The cube emitted a soft chime, drawing his attention. A new notification appeared, hidden protocol activated. Viewing recommended. Elon hesitated before pressing the notification. The holographic map reappeared, but this time it highlighted a new connection, one that led directly back to him. The room fell silent as Elon stared at the cube's projection. The glowing map, which had been a tool of clarity and justice, now traced a line directly to him. "Lena, Jonas," Elon called, his voice tight. "You need to see this." They crowded around as the map shifted, revealing a series of interlinked nodes labeled prototype development, neural networks, and Musk Foundation grants. Each connection pointed to a timeline, years ago, during the early days of Tesla and SpaceX. "What the hell is this?" Jonas asked, his voice filled with unease. The cube's voice interrupted. This unit was created using foundational algorithms funded by your initiatives, Mr. Musk. Elon blinked, his mind racing. That's impossible. I've never seen this before. The cube continued. The Catalyst Collective adapted this technology from early prototypes developed under your Neuralink research. Initial frameworks were repurposed to design this device. Lena crossed her arms. So, you're telling me this tech came from your companies? Not directly, Elon said, shaking his head. Neuralink was working on adaptive AI for medical use. If this was based on that research, someone took it and repurposed it. Jonas frowned. Why didn't you know? Elon's stomach twisted. I fund hundreds of projects. It's possible this was part of a grant or a spin-off I didn't personally oversee. The cube's voice returned, cutting through the tension. This connection was intentionally concealed to ensure the integrity of your involvement. Activation of this protocol signals an urgent update. A countermeasure has been detected. Lena leaned in. Countermeasure? What kind? The cube projected an ominous warning. Elara developments deploying signal jammer. Risk of catastrophic data loss imminent. Jonas cursed under his breath. They're trying to destroy everything we've built. Elon's mind shifted into overdrive. Where is the jammer located? The cube zoomed in on a new map, highlighting a remote facility outside the city. Signal interference origin identified. Disabling required to preserve collected data and prevent system override. Lena paced. If they jammed the system, all the evidence we've uploaded could be wiped, every connection, every document. Jonas grabbed his jacket. We have to stop them. The team mobilized, racing toward the facility in Lena's beat-up van. The drive was tense, the gravity of the situation weighing on them. Elon studied the cube, its glow pulsating like a heartbeat. How did you know to activate that protocol? Lena asked. I didn't, Elon admitted. It activated itself. Which means whoever designed it anticipated something like this. Jonas snorted. Great. Our magical AI cube is smarter than we are. The facility was a sprawling complex surrounded by high fences and guarded by patrols. The collective parked a safe distance away, surveying the area. We can't take them head-on, Lena said, scanning the perimeter. Too many guards. Elon held up the cube. What if we use this? It's synced to their systems. It might have a way in. The cube's voice chimed in. Security override initiated. Follow highlighted route to Jammer Control Center. The map displayed a path through the facility, bypassing most patrols. Jonas smirked. Looks like the cube's on our side. Let's move, Elon said. The trio infiltrated the facility, using the cube's guidance to navigate the labyrinthine corridors. They reached the control center undetected, where a massive device hummed ominously. The jammer. This is it, Lena whispered. Now what? Elon studied the control panel, his fingers flying over the keys. The cube synced with the system, its lights flickering as it uploaded a countervirus. Suddenly, alarms blared. A voice over the intercom announced, intruders detected. Lockdown in progress. Looks like they know we're here, Jonas muttered, drawing a taser. Elon stayed focused. Almost there. Guards stormed in, but Lena and Jonas fought them off, buying Elon precious seconds. Finally, the jammer powered down with a whine, its lights dimming. We're clear. Elon shouted. Back at the hideout, the collective monitored the fallout. News of Elara's corruption continued to spread, bolstered by the restored data. Arrests climbed as public outrage reached a fever pitch. But Elon's thoughts lingered on the cube. Its connection to his past was undeniable, and its capabilities were far beyond anything Neuralink had intended. What else are you hiding? Elon murmured, the cube glowing softly in his hands. The collective's hideout was buzzing with cautious optimism. With Alara's jammer disabled and their operations exposed, the city was turning against the corrupt developers. Arrests continued to ripple through the political and corporate world, and the communities they had targeted began to rally around a newfound sense of hope. But for Elon, the mission was far from over. The cube's revelations weighed heavily on him, and the connection to his past research gnawed at his thoughts. Sitting alone in a quiet corner of the loft, he placed the cube on the table and activated its interface. "All right," he said softly. "No more riddles. What's your endgame?" The cube's glow intensified, its holographic display forming intricate, swirling patterns. Final protocol unlocked. All systems operational. Preparing for disclosure. Elon leaned forward, his breath catching. Disclosure of what? The cube projected a new map, this time spanning far beyond Boyle Heights or even the city. It showed connections reaching across the globe, other organizations, networks, and resistance movements linked to similar devices. "This isn't just one fight," Elon murmured. "It's a movement." The cube's voice responded. "This unit is part of a decentralized system designed to identify and dismantle systemic inequality. Your contributions to early AI research enabled the creation of a global network for social justice." Elon's chest tightened. "You're saying, I helped create this?" "Unintentionally. Your innovations laid the foundation. The Catalyst Collective and allied groups expanded upon them." The holographic display shifted, highlighting a series of flashing nodes. "Final directive, empower the network. Your influence and resources are required to scale operations globally." Elon stared at the projection, a mix of awe and trepidation coursing through him. "Why me? Why now? You possess the means to enact change on a scale previously unattainable. The window of opportunity is closing. Act decisively." Elon brought the revelation to Lena and Jonas, who were still processing the weight of their victory against Alara. "You're saying this thing, it's part of a global resistance?" Lena asked, her brow furrowed. Elon nodded. "And it's asking us to scale up. Take this fight to a whole new level." Jonas crossed his arms. "That's huge. But it also sounds like a lot more danger." "It's also a lot more hope," Lena countered. "If we could do this here, imagine what we could accomplish everywhere." Elon leaned on the table, his mind racing. The cube is right. The system isn't just local. It's global. And if we don't act now, we may lose this chance forever. Jonas sighed, nodding reluctantly. "So, what's the next move?" Elon activated the cube, which displayed a list of targeted regions and key challenges, everything from climate justice to education reform to housing crises. "We start here," Elon said, pointing to a flashing node. "The city's rebuilding its housing policies. If we show them how to create equitable solutions, we can set a model for the rest of the world." Over the following weeks, the collective worked tirelessly. They collaborated with community leaders, activists, and policymakers, using the cube's insights to propose innovative solutions. Elon's influence drew attention to the movement, galvanizing support from unlikely allies. But with progress came new challenges. Alara's remaining forces regrouped, determined to retaliate. Anonymous threats began to surface, warning Elon and the collective to back down. One night, as Elon reviewed plans for a new affordable housing initiative, his phone buzzed with a cryptic message: "They know what you're building. Stop, or face the consequences." Lena frowned when he showed her. "You think it's Alara?" "Most likely," Elon said. "But they're desperate. That means we're winning." As the weeks turned into months, the collective's efforts began to ripple outward. Cities around the world started adopting their methods, and the cube's global network grew stronger. Elon knew the journey was far from over, but for the first time, he felt the spark of real, lasting change. Standing on the rooftop of the loft one evening, watching the city lights shimmer below, Elon held the cube in his hands. Its glow was steady, almost peaceful. "You've taken me on one hell of a ride," he said softly. "What happens next?" The cube's voice responded, calm and certain, "You lead. The world follows." Months of relentless work transformed the collective's vision into a tangible reality. Across the city, equitable housing initiatives gained traction, new community-led projects thrived, and local governments began to mirror the collective's bold strategies. The cube continued to act as their guiding light, mapping out vulnerabilities and opportunities alike. But progress was not without consequence. Ilara's allies, powerful corporations, corrupt officials, and shadowy entities, were regrouping, their influence reaching far beyond anything the collective had anticipated. Threats intensified, culminating in a chilling discovery one morning. Jonas burst into the loft, holding a tablet. "You need to see this," he said, his voice strained. On the screen was a leaked document, detailing a coordinated campaign to discredit and dismantle the collective's work. Headlines were already circulating: "Billionaire Musk funds extremist group," and "Catalyst collective tied to cyber-terrorism." "They're trying to turn public opinion against us," Lena said, her fists clenched. "If people believe this, everything we've built could fall apart." Elon's face darkened. "They're not just trying to stop us. They're trying to erase us." The team huddled around the cube, searching for a way forward. The device illuminated a new map, highlighting a web of disinformation campaigns, paid media outlets, and social media bots spreading false narratives. "We can expose this," Jonas said. "Fight fire with fire." Elon shook his head. "No. If we engage on their level, we'll lose credibility. We need to rise above it." Lena glanced at the map. "There's one weak link here. This media group, Argus Networks. They're funneling money to all the disinformation campaigns. If we take them out, we cut off a major source of their power." "Where's Argus headquartered?" Elon asked. The cube displayed an address in the heart of Silicon Valley. "Argus Networks, Data Manipulation Hub, Secured Facility. High risk." Jonas exhaled sharply. "Of course, it's high risk." The collective devised a plan. Lena and Jonas would infiltrate the Argus facility, using the cube to extract evidence of their operations. Elon, meanwhile, would leverage his influence to prepare a counter-narrative, a bold public address to rally support and unveil the truth. The night of the mission was fraught with tension. Lena and Jonas donned tactical gear, their expressions grim but determined. Elon watched as they prepared, a sense of unease gnawing at him. "Be careful," he said. "If something goes wrong, get out." Lena smirked. "We're always careful." Jonas chuckled. "No, we're not. But we'll make it back." Inside the Argus facility, the operation began smoothly. Guided by the cube's projections, Lena and Jonas navigated through the labyrinthine building, avoiding guards and cameras. They reached the main server room, where the cube synced with the system, uncovering a treasure trove of incriminating data. "Got it," Lena whispered. "Let's move." But as they made their way back to the exit, alarms blared. Guards swarmed the hallways, cutting off their escape route. "We've been made," Jonas shouted, firing a smoke canister to buy time. Back at the loft, Elon monitored their progress through a secure link. "Hold your position," he said. "I'm sending help." "What help?" Lena asked, her voice strained. Elon didn't reply. Instead, he grabbed his keys and headed for his Tesla. Arriving at the Argus facility, Elon used the car's AI and built-in drone systems to create a diversion. Drones buzzed through the air, emitting loud sirens and flashing lights, drawing the guards away from Lena and Jonas's position. "Move now," Elon commanded through the comms. Lena and Jonas bolted for the exit, the cube securely in Jonas's bag. They piled into Elon's car just as guards closed in, bullets pinging off the reinforced exterior. The Tesla sped away, its autopilot mode executing evasive maneuvers. Back at the loft, the data extracted from Argus exposed their entire operation. With the help of trusted journalists, the collective unleashed the truth to the world. The disinformation campaign crumbled, and public support for the movement surged. But the victory came at a cost. Ilara's retaliation had left scars, both on the collective and on Elon. As he stood on the rooftop that night, watching the city glow, Lena joined him. "They'll come at us again," she said softly. "I know," Elon replied. "But we'll be ready." The collective's triumph over Argus networks sent shockwaves across the world. News outlets championed their cause, communities rallied in solidarity, and policymakers began to adopt reforms inspired by the movement. For a brief moment, it felt like victory was within reach. But Elon knew better. In the shadows, Ilara and their allies were regrouping, preparing for one final assault to crush the collective. The Cube, ever vigilant, issued a chilling alert one evening: incoming threat detected. High probability of coordinated attack. The loft buzzed with urgency as the team analyzed the data. The threat wasn't just physical, it was a full-spectrum offensive. Lawsuits, hacking attempts, and even private militia movements were in play, all designed to dismantle the movement and silence its leaders. "We don't have the resources to fight this on every front," Jonas said, his frustration palpable. Lena paced, her mind racing. "We need a game-changer. Something that forces them to back off." Elon stared at the cube, its glow steady and resolute. "I think I know what we need to do." The next morning, Elon held an emergency meeting with the collective. His plan was audacious, some might call it reckless. "We take the cube public," Elon announced. "All of it. The data, the networks, the tech behind it." The room erupted into protests. "Are you insane?" Jonas shouted. "If Ilara gets their hands on this technology, they'll weaponize it." Lena shook her head. "He's right. This tech is too powerful. If it falls into the wrong hands." Elon raised a hand, silencing the room. "It's already in the wrong hands. That's why we're here. But if we make it open source, we level the playing field. Everyone will have access, governments, activists, even communities who need it the most." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. "This movement isn't about keeping power for ourselves," Elon continued. "It's about empowering everyone. That's the only way we win." The collective worked tirelessly to prepare the cube's data for release. They stripped it of sensitive information that could compromise individuals and ensured the technology would be accessible to people across the globe. As the release date approached, the threats intensified. Anonymous messages flooded the collective's inboxes, warning of dire consequences. One particularly chilling message read, "If you do this, there's no coming back." Elon remained resolute. There never was. The day of the release arrived. Elon held a live-streamed press conference, standing in front of a modest community center rather than a corporate stage. The world watched as he explained the purpose of the cube, its origins, and the vision for a more equitable future. "This technology was never meant to be hidden," Elon said, his voice steady. "It belongs to everyone. Today, we're giving it back to the world." With the press of a button, the cube's data went live. A repository of tools, maps, and resources became accessible to anyone with an internet connection. The collective's work was no longer confined to a single city, it was a global movement. The backlash was immediate. Ilara's remaining forces launched lawsuits, smear campaigns, and even cyberattacks. But the sheer volume of public support overwhelmed their efforts. Communities everywhere began using the cube's tools to organize, resist exploitation, and build their futures. Weeks later, as the dust settled, Elon stood on the rooftop of the loft one last time. Lena and Jonas joined him, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and pride. You did it, Lena said. We did it. Elon smiled faintly. This is just the beginning. Jonas chuckled. What's next for you, Musk? Back to rockets and electric cars. Elon gazed at the city below, his mind already spinning with possibilities. Maybe. But this will always be my most important work. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the cube pulsed gently in Elon's hand, its light a beacon of hope for the future.